Hey, welcome to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Rayner. Friday, September 13th. Friday the 13th, Ashley.
Right.
You know what that means, don't you?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. It means it's Friday the 13th.
I just learned that.
Well, co-host Ashley Mosley with us today. And in the immortal words of Ed Sullivan, we got a really big show today.
We really do.
This is one of the biggest shows we've had in a long time.
Top flight guests, no question about that.
Two coaching legends. We got a broadcast legend, Ashley Mosley, with us.
Yeah, right.
And two coaching legends. Coach Chuck Martin, welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
And Coach Ray Durham, welcome.
Thank you.
You've been on the show before, and you've been on the show before with Phil before. I haven't been able to get you guys together. We've been trying for a couple of weeks, but I've been looking forward to this. I love to hear you guys talk about football. And it is football season. Hard to believe it's week 4 this week.
Gosh, flies, doesn't it?
It's like it's just starting August 1st practice, and now all of a sudden it's week 4.
It takes forever to get here and just going in a flash. Things like that.
Before we get started, let's thank our sponsors real quick. National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the losses of John Drew Warlick, CNS Paint, Ron Choate and Victor Case, Onslow County Motor Company, Fountain Management, Miss Sandra Fountain, Wismart, Chappie's Chicken and Great Gas and Oil, Bartley Insurance Services, Bill Mercer, Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Golden Corral, Lane and Associates Family Dentistry, Doctors Tommy and Kim Morgan, Jones Onslow EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, Southern Touch Painting, Barnes Diamond Gallery, and Bayshore Animal Hospital. Of course, their new location is now open at 623 East Savagton Drive in Swansboro. I want to thank Helen's Kitchen and Billy Grist today. We like to mix it up and not have breakfast bowls every morning. Man, them BLTs were on time, weren't they?
Two weeks in a row, delicious.
Yeah, we might make it 3 in a row.
That'd be all right.
Do it.
I love them.
I like them. They are good. And it seems to feel a little lighter after you eat them, don't you?
Yeah.
So I can eat 4 instead of just having
That's
1.
right.
Yeah.
They're not heavy as a cheeseburger.
Since I feel lighter. Our Wood Ducks report, we have our last one today, sponsored by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning. Jason Humphrey in the game. The Wood Ducks finished up. We'll talk about that when we get to the report and kind of get y'all's thoughts on, the minor leagues no longer around in the area. Race report is powered by Onslow County Motor Company, Ben Beasley in the game. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch this show and previous shows at YouTube at WSME Radio, as well as our Freedom Facebook page. You can also find all your favorite on-demand sports talk podcasts at WSME971.com, including you guys' previous shows. They're still on there. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go back and see if you made the right picks that week or whatever, if it was a pick week. But let's dive right in. High school football, 4 weeks in. Back in the day, it seemed like everything started August 1st. I remember even when I was playing in the mid-'80s, we didn't really do a whole lot over the summer other than crop tobacco and work. And then all of a sudden, August 1st, it started. Which coach wants to start? What was your get going thing? How did you get started? Just throw them out there and start running them to death?
Well, we got started just as soon as school's out. We would go to a football camp, UNC, NC State, Duke, University of Virginia. We'd take the kids to a camp. And then we had a passing league. And we worked through the passing league most of the summer, plus the weightlifting, getting the kids in the weight room, trying to get them ready for the season, conditioning and such. And before you know it, it's time to put the pads on and go.
All right, Coach, tell us where your resume there, where you got started and where you coached at and everything for people that haven't heard.
I'm from a small town in southern West Virginia, War, West Virginia. It's in McDowell County.
So every time you go home, you go to War.
Not every time, no.
Okay.
No. But I went to a small school by the name of Big Creek High School, and they called our county the Coal Bend of America because most of the coal in the United States came out of that particular county from West Virginia. Again, I went to Big Creek High School. I had fortunate to have good coaches in football, basketball, and track, and I participated in all of those sports. I graduated from Big Creek in '67, and I wasn't good enough to have a scholarship or earn a scholarship, and I knew that I wanted Chris to be a coach. So I went to West Virginia University, and Coach Bobby Bowden was there at that time, and I became a walk-on. And I got beat up every day. Ended up.
Did they call you Rudy back then?
I felt like Rudy, I'll tell you. But I was a scout team quarterback. Ended up getting a separated shoulder and got that taken care of. And then Coach Bowden just let me help around the office and so on because he indeed knew that I wanted to coach, and he was instrumental in my first job at Bluefield High School, calling the coach up, John Shamar, and telling him that I would do a good job for him, and I appreciated that. And sure enough, I went to Bluefield, and that was my first assistant's job. We were fortunate enough to win a state championship at Bluefield High School my first year of West
Wow.
Virginia.
You spoiled right out the gate, weren't you?
It was great, and we had good football teams. So we had, I think the most we lost the 5 years I was there was 2 games.
Wow.
We were pretty darn good, and they're still really good. And as a matter of fact, I went back to Bluefield last week. It had been 49 years since I started there, and I had the opportunity to talk to the football team and talk to the public before the first game. And there were 9,000 people at that game between Bluefield, West Virginia, and Bluefield, Virginia. And it rained really bad, and they thought the attendance would be down. And they expected 12,000, but 9,000 people came to that game. But after Bluefield, I coached at 3 colleges. I was at Marshall University, University of North Carolina, Ohio University. And I coached at Vance Senior High School in Henderson, North Carolina. That was my first head high school.
Okay.
Oh, it's great. I had great kids. Yeah. We were darn good. I think the first year we were 6-4, but we got much better. But I was a head coach, obviously, at Jacksonville for
what were those years?
14 years, 88 through 2002. I
So you
took over
guys
for
kinda
Coach Durham.
crossed-
Yeah.
One got kind of crossed paths, didn't you?
Yeah, Coach Durham left me about 3 or 4 inflated balls and a cane back seat in the coaching office, and then I was at Laney High School as well.
You know, Chris, in addition to a great coach from West Virginia like Coach Martin here, Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher from West Virginia.
Yeah, good coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, where were you when, of course, the famous or infamous Marshall airplane crash? Where was that in your time?
I was a freshman at West Virginia University, and we were going downtown to party that Saturday evening, and maybe get something to eat and have a beer or 2 in college. But as we were going downtown, there were some kids coming back to the dorm saying, "Hey, did you hear about the plane crash?" "What plane crash?"
Right.
And sure enough, we went back to the dorm. The Marshall plane had gone down.
That's
It's
terrible.
just terrible. But when I was coaching at Marshall, they celebrated to recognize the 10th anniversary of the plane crash.
Yeah.
And that was a sad event.
I've
Yeah,
seen the
it was.
memorial there in Huntington. Is a good thing they've done.
Yes.
All right, Coach Durham, let's switch gears. You tell us, kind of get everybody caught up on. It was a dark and stormy night when little Ray Durham came into the world. take us from there through your coaching and your playing days.
And he was born in Kinston.
Yeah, I think
Another Kinston product.
I think the first thing was they wanted to send me back.
The
But
2 most famous people from Kinston are you and Cornbread Maxwell, then, aren't they?
I guess.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. Pretty much spent my entire life in Eastern North Carolina. I graduated from high school at Siler City.
Did you know Aunt B?
I did.
Did you really? Frances Bobby,
How about
because
that?
she's from
How about
Siler
it?
City.
Siler City.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've lived in Swansboro, Richlands, Trenton, and but graduated from high school at Siler City, went to Guilford College,
Okay.
and then started coaching and been to many places. But I kind of thought I had ended up in Jacksonville. I came from Wilmington Hoggard to Jacksonville, left 2,300 size school to a 1,300 size school. But there was a reason for that.
But weren't both still 4A at that time, then?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a big difference then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you played college football at Guilford
Yes.
with a Goldsboro product, Dave Odom.
Yeah. And a Goldsboro product, Bobby O'Daniel,
Bobby O'Daniel just lost him in July.
Bill Ellis.
Okay.
And so we had a lot of Goldsboro boys.
Good.
And I lived there too for when I was real little. My dad, that was his last coaching job. And during the war, he went to work for the state and the government. Obviously, most kids know what their daddy did in the war, but he never talked about it.
That
And-
usually means they were in some pretty heavy
Yeah.
stuff.
well,
We don't talk about it.
really don't know. But
Right.
most of the World War II boys didn't talk about it.
Right.
And I mean, they'd seen a lot of things.
Right.
And they just, wanted to go home and go back to work.
Did you always want to coach?
Oh, yeah. I told my mom and dad in seventh grade that all I wanted to do was be a jock. And, they thought I meant coaching, but I really meant playing.
Right.
But it didn't work out that way. 5'10", 140-pound senior.
Yeah.
Always wanted to go to state college and met Dick Hunter up there, who was a running back at state at the time, Hunter and Christie. And he said, don't give up your dream. He was about 160 pounds.
Right.
But I thought I could play a little bit at Guilford, so that's why I went there.
What's Guilford's mascot?
Quaker.
The Quakers. Now, speaking of Quakes, when you were at Goldsboro, your dad was there. They were the Earthquakes, weren't they?
Earthquakes.
Yeah. Was that due to the old earthquake years ago? Is that why they were named that?
I
Anybody know?
don't know why it was named the Earthquakes. My senior years, when the schools, Dillard High School and Goldsboro High School, consolidated, it became the Tigers
Okay.
or the Cougars. They were the Dillard Tigers. We were the Goldsboro Earthquakes.
Right.
And they met in the middle and announced the Goldsboro Cougars.
Right.
But these guys are passionate still about football.
Oh,
'Cause
no
I-
doubt.
I see Coach Martin on the sidelines. In fact, we run up and down the sidelines, and I see Coach Durham in the stands. In fact, he travels. He travels well too. He
Yeah.
went to the White Oak game. So
Do you do like
I
me,
still
Coach,
love
and find somewhere to eat on the way? Always find a nice little restaurant to eat something at?
Well, usually that's part of the deal.
Yeah. If you're like me, you probably know a restaurant just about every place you play. Yeah. And one of them, no, I'm not talking about like a chain restaurant like McDonald's. I'm talking about a local, nice place that most people will never eat at if they didn't know about it.
like a Helen's Kitchen.
Exactly. Thank you again.
There you
That's a good little plug there.
Right.
Good job.
That's usually in the deal.
Yep.
So you guys, back in the day, practice would usually start around August 1st and everything. Do you still get the itch around August 1st? I mean, obviously, you probably want to jump back into coaching, but do you still get the itch just that feeling once practice starts and I can't say the air gets any cooler because August 1st ain't usually very cool, but you know what I mean? When the season's coming, what's your thoughts? Every year you start getting your stuff ready to kind of check out the teams?
When I walk outside and it's 100 degrees,
You walk back
I
inside.
walk
don't
back inside. And look, remember, back in the day, you did 2 days.
you? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
practiced 3 times a day. We would go to a camp out in Grantham, North Carolina for 2 weeks. We'd practice heavy in the morning, 6:30, light about 11 o'clock, and then in the afternoon, heavy again at 3:30, 3 times a day back in the day. Of course, we teed off at 8 o'clock at night as well, kick off and that sort of thing. So that's a long time ago.
But if you started practice at 3:30 in the afternoon and the wet bulb told you couldn't practice, y'all didn't practice, did you?
The one
I don't know, man.
I know. That's the point I'm making.
I know one
There
thing.
were no fancy dancing.
We had 11 players one summer and 2 coaches have to go to the hospital. It was so hot.
That hot.
I mean, yeah, it was horrible.
But you can attest to this too. Most kids back then worked jobs
Put
where
work
they
in
were
the
out
back.
in heat anyway. You know,
Football was a vacation, after you got through putting in the back and everything, you could go to football practice like a little time off, really,
it's like the famous story about the guy that farmed all his life, went into the army. He said he wrote his brother and he said, "Man, we get to sleep in till 6 o'clock every morning because on the farm he used to be up at 4 or 5."
That's
in the morning.
Well, the thing about it was in the 50s, I played football, basketball, and baseball, and in the summer worked in the backer. And every kid in Jones County just about did.
Yep.
If you wanted a
Coach-
job, there it was. It was 10 hours a day, at least 5 days a week.
All right.
Coach, when I first started at Henderson, I was going to have early morning practice 2-a-days and such. And they said, Coach, you can't do that. The kids are working in the tobacco fields. You're going to have to wait till 6 o'clock to start your practices.
You
My
talking
first year
Henderson,
in
North
Yankee
Carolina?
County,
Oh,
we practiced
wow.
from 8 to 10 at
Yeah.
night.
Oh, really? How about
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I mean, they'd get off about 6 o'clock.
Well, you had to work around this.
Turn
And
the
they
lights
pull-
on.
They come out there with tobacco gum all over them. and we practice football.
How about that?
Did you make the receivers make sure they cropped the back and top sucker so they'd have that sticky hand? That ball would stick to them. Coach, you were talking about from Henderson. That's one of my favorite places up there. We used to go to Car Lake every year
Yes.
and camp up there, and that's just a beautiful place.
I was fortunate enough to live on the lake.
Did you?
When I was coaching there?
Nice,
So you're a Bugs Islander.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's funny because how do you pronounce it? Kerr or Carr?
Kerr.
Because I've heard different ones, and you go up there, some people say Carr, some
That's
Kerr.
right.
So it's just
That's
like
right. It's
it used to be.
50-50.
Is it? All right. So
You got to remember, he's a Yankee.
But I was going to mention this, Chris. I coached Thanksgiving. Coach, we were below the Mason-Dixon line. I am not a Yankee, but I've coached for 40 years. And, you talk about August 1st comes around. Yes, I still miss the X and O part. Not so much the classroom part, but I still would enjoy working with kids and the X and O part of it.
Yeah, I missed the 4 o'clock to 6:30
Oh yeah.
in the afternoon.
the time with the kids and working on it. Yeah.
Right. I don't miss Friday nights at all.
Really?
Really.
I mean, just you enjoy going to see it, but just
Oh,
not,
yeah. I mean,
not all.
I've seen every home game Jackson's played since I left.
Really?
How about that?
But I don't miss that part of it. I even miss the Saturday mornings washing 6 or 8 loads of clothes and
Yeah, that was your decompression
working
time.
all day, and then coaches meetings all Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I miss that.
We practice on Saturday morning.
I
Yeah,
don't,
I know
miss-
you did.
I don't miss the laundry part.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk more about y'all's mesh time there at Jacksonville. What y'all were doing together. Though we'll be right back on Sports Talk.
Does Sam shoot?
Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Rainer, co-host Ashley Mosley with us again today. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, buddy.
Got Coach Chuck Martin with us today. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Glad to have you as a guest. And Coach Ray Durham. Glad to have both of you guys as guests.
Go Cards.
Go Cards. Coach, you were at Jacksonville before this young man over here, right?
I was.
Tell us your timeline there and then how it transitioned to Coach Martin.
I was there about 10 years and decided that
Had a little success there, didn't you? You had a lot of success there.
Anyway, funny story. Coach Martin comes by my house after he's taken his job. And we talk and all and get to know each other. And he says, well, you got any tips? And I said, well, all I can tell you, Coach, is these boys in the last 10 years have run 6 plays. And
Don't confuse them.
they are not going to be impressed with how much football you know. So about a week later, he dropped by the house and he gave me his playbook. And it was as big as the Chicago Bears. And I said, God, no, you know this much football? So, he was a lot different than I was in terms of coaching and doing this and doing that and doing the other. We ran 6 plays, and that was it. And I felt like if you practice something 30 times a week,
You ought to get good at it.
you're about going to know what to do. And offensively, your line has to know what to do. If they don't know what to do, then it doesn't make any difference who your running back is.
That's exactly right.
And I think NC State is a great example of that against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I felt like repetition. Run them every day, all week.
I got one question for you. And those 6 plays that you ran, did that include the quarterback sneak? Or was it automatic?
That's a special play.
I got you.
Now, you remember the movie, or was the movie Remember the Titans, where Coach Boone says, I run to veer, 6 plays, just like Novocaine, just give it a little while, it's going to work.
Yeah.
And then you probably had them 6 plays, and then as the season went on, might have a little variation off of them, like a little
Well, you might, we
little-
would always have what we call special
play action or something off of it.
reverse pass. And then if we won the game, then I didn't want to use them because they'd get on film and somebody know about them. And all of a sudden the season's over and I haven't run any of the special plays.
That's right.
Saved him for those moments.
Saved them.
You may or may not have been years ago. I remember Coach Padgett was coaching against Wallace Rose Hill, second round of the playoffs, and Wallace had us. They were up like about 15, 18 points. And it was down to 4th and like 23 or something. And he dials up a Ray Durham double reverse halfback pass for a touchdown, and it's like you flip a switch. I mean, in mud until in quicksand, and then all of a sudden, that's how quick in a game momentum can do it. Don't you agree, Coach? I mean, you've seen games just flip like that.
That's right.
Tell us about, you remember any circumstances like that? The big momentum just jumped out and jumped on your back?
Well, I remember one time to get into the state playoffs, we were playing Kinston. Coach, you might remember this. Sean Wilson was the quarterback, and we threw that little halfback pass down to the left side of the end zone there, and that turned things around and got us up to Fayetteville, and from there to Chapel Hill.
And people that don't go to the games and just see the write-up in the paper, they go, man, you lost 23-7. Y'all weren't even close. They may not realize there was one play that might have got called back,
Wow.
or a fumble went up the wrong way or a different way. If that had happened, all the momentum was going. And that's the way games work like that. I want to share this site with you guys later. It's on Carolina Preps, and it shows every season in Cardinal history here. Believe it or not, it's here.
While you're looking that up, Chris, can I ask him a question?
Sure.
Exactly what kind of offense did you run? We ran a single wing at Goldsboro High School. What did y'all run in Jacksonville? Power I?
Or I formation.
I formation.
We called it the pro I because we had 2 wide receivers like the pros did.
Right, but you had them stacked in the backfield.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you change that much when you got there?
Well, I ran some pro sets and twins and things like that, but I also dabbled with the unbalanced.
I got
And
you.
that's what I'd learned at Bluefield High School, and
Right.
we'd been very successful with that. We had the T-tight backfield.
Well, that
and,
makes the defense
a
have
lot
to
of
think
a
little
lot
bit.
of misdirection, and it proved successful some years.
Well, looking at this site here, it shows all the coaching actual name till back till 1992. So I can help this guy fill in now that I've talked to you guys some of the names before that. So you was 89 your first year?
88.
88. So you were up there till 87.
10 years.
Right.
I thought
But
my
87 was
first year
was your last year.
either 78 or 79.
What I'm saying is 87 was your
Yeah.
last year, and you handed it right over to this
Yeah.
gentleman here. Looking at a lot of the records, man, 12-1s, 12-1s, 10-2s, 10-2s, 13-2. Man, you guys had a lot of deep runs in the playoffs, 7-0 in the conference. And tell us about some of the conference teams back then. Now, the conference is so much different. But back then, weren't you guys playing conference games like at Rocky Mountain, Wilson, and Fayetteville, things like that? Who were some of the conference
Durham,
opponents?
Raleigh, Ball.
Let's start with you because you're proceeding. Who were some of your conference opponents back then that people might not think about now?
Well, coming from Hoggard to Jacksonville, with integration, the number of schools almost doubled in the East. So we went through all this new alignment stuff, and Hoggard was sent to Fayetteville.
Mm.
And New Hanover stayed in the old league
Right.
with Goldsboro and Rocky Mount and New Bern and Greenville and those.
A lot of Durham. A lot
Yeah.
of people didn't realize that all the way to Durham.
Can you imagine leaving New Hanover back then before that?
Wilson.
That was before 40 was like it is. Leaving 40 or New Hanover County to have to go play a conference game in Durham.
And Raleigh Broughton.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
all
then
the
you
way
had
to
to
Rocky
play.
Mountain.
Then you had to play on that field at Legion Stadium there in Wilmington with them baseball diamond rocks all over and
Yeah,
everything.
it weren't turf back then, was it?
No, it
It
was
was just
baseball field.
old school, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's a place I
great
still love
thing
to go to.
about that was we played Jacksonville when they had Leander,
Uh-huh.
and we had a torrential rain that night.
Now you were coaching where?
I was
then?
coaching at
At
Hoggard.
Hogger, okay.
So the referee comes up to me before the game. It's slacked up, almost stopped. The field is a quagmire. And he said, "Now, Coach, I'm officially in charge of this game. Do you want to play or do you want to postpone?" And I looked at him and I thought, Leander, we'll play. And so about the first two steps Leander took, the mud was up to his ankle.
Slipping and sliding more.
Yeah, I thought that was a great coaching decision.
So you neutralized their flash players.
That's right.
All right, now when after you took over, who were some of the conference opponents
there's no
that people
question.
might not know now?
The New Hanover was the big school that we had to play, and we had to win to earn the conference championship. But there was also Hogger, and New Bern was in the conference at that time. So there's some dead gum good football teams.
Big schools,
Plus
too.
the teams from Goldsboro, the southern eastern wing, Goldsboro. Goldsboro was
And we
very
always
good.
played Greenville.
Yeah.
And Greenville Rose,
Whitman Rose,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, they were
And that was
tough.
before all the smaller schools came about in Greenville.
But they were not in the conference at that time.
No,
Jacksonville, as you mentioned before, Chris, is not really known for any outstanding basketball players that's going on to the pros, but they've had more than their share of great football players come out of.
You're talking about Onslow County and
Yeah. I'm talking about all the schools.
Several NFL players, but we were talking about it on the show one day. No NBA players that we know of, and then right up the road, an hour away, you got Kinston's put 13 in the NBA. A little itty bitty town like that.
The realignment helps it out like a little bit.
Well, that's just in the water up there. That's what they do up there. Yeah.
what you don't understand is that at the end of the war, now this is World War II. At the end of the war, there were tons of small, medium-sized schools in eastern North Carolina. And it seemed like most of the towns, for some reason, picked a sport. And in Kinston, it was basketball. In Greenville, it was baseball.
Yeah.
In Wilmington, it was baseball.
Right.
In Jacksonville, it was football. So that's why you leave a school with 2,300 and go to one with 1,300, because it's a football school.
Right. Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't be good in the other sports, but most of the time, they're going to be good. Kinston's going to be good in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Greenville's going to be good in baseball. Wilmington's going to be good in baseball. And Jackson's going to be good in football.
Yeah.
Now, if they had, say, decided when Southwest came along to just bring them in and build a huge new school, see, that's what I wanted them to do, is I wanted them to have 2 schools in Onslow County.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, we're 3,000 or so at each school, but they didn't.
I wasn't at Goldsboro High School when you guys won the state championship. I think you went undefeated.
82.
Was it 8 and 2?
82.
Well,
82 at Jackson, right? State championship year.
82 or 3 or somewhere.
Oh, you talking about, different. Okay. I'm
okay,
sorry.
yeah. Goldsboro lost to Jacksonville one of those years, 3-0 was the final score, and you had a running back named Eddie Colson, and the story goes, I know some people heard it before, some people never have heard it. He run the ball how many times?
Every time.
Running every play.
What I've heard.
All but 2.
All but 2.
plays.
Are you sure?
No, Captain.
I'm asking if he's sure. That's like asking the Pope if he knows Catholic stuff.
Well, it would seem to me that if it was Goldsboro, Gerald Wilson, or whoever, if you get the ball to that one running back that many times, after a while they would have 11 people stacked up to stop it, and they still couldn't stop it.
Have you ever seen Eddie Colson in his prime?
No, I didn't see
He
him
was
in
a
prime.
stud, buddy.
Well, the thing about it is they had a great linebacker named Ford.
Yeah.
And those 2 kids must have run together 25 times that night, just right at each other. And it was no place for the faint of heart.
More than 38
It was
times.
like 2 trains on the same track headed at each other.
Well, the football's not very heavy.
No, it isn't. It's
6
not
ounces.
heavy.
I mean, you're not carrying a load of anything.
But them 2 linebackers on your back, there, aren't they?
Now,
No,
Coach,
it's not.
in '94, you guys went to the state championship game.
Yes.
You had a pretty good running back then, too.
Yes, we did.
I know the fellow pretty well now. He's a basketball coach now.
Yes,
But
Chris Williams.
And as tall as he is, it's just hard to imagine him, getting low and stuff. He reminds me kind of like, remember Ethan Horton for Carolina, how he runs so upright and
Right.
so tall. And I guess, was Chris kind of like that? Or
He was like that.
Was
He had better moves than what you might think he would have.
Oh, he looked
But
shaky.
he had good speed. But if you understand from a coach's standpoint, he had good eyes. He could see ahead where to
Right.
break and
And
how
work
to
the
change direction. And he did a good job.
And
at
you got a
that.
bad break in that game, didn't you, Coach? Did the quarterback break his collarbone, or was that a different game?
No, not that game. Are you talking
Greg
about the
Cooper.
state championship?
Yeah.
No, Greg was with Coach Durham.
Okay.
Now, that was before you won the state championship. Too. That when the one he's talking about was the year before that, correct?
Well, that's probably about the worst 5 minutes of my life.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Because it was Page.
Scored
both
14
years.
to 14.
Uh,
And we hold Page with about 35 seconds left in a half. And so we run Colson up the middle just to run the clock out.
right.
We're pretty happy at 14 to 14.
Right.
And he goes about 20. So he crosses the 50 and we're on about their 40. Well, my quarterback can throw it 40 yards. So what the heck? What have you got to lose? I mean, if they intercept it, you got 11 guys between them and the goal line. So it's a safe play. Well, their defensive end comes in, unblocks, and hit the quarterback, and he breaks his collarbone.
Mm.
So we go in at halftime, and I'm up there on the board trying to do some stuff, and about 50 people are looking at the doctor and Greg Cooper, including me out the side of my eye while I'm writing.
And that was 1980, correct?
Right.
Right.
And he turns to me and shakes his head, and the air goes out of the gym. And, I say some stuff to try to,
Right.
we walk out there and we can't get to the bench. There's so many people. So I tell you, boys, run around we'll go around and we'll come in on Page's side. So we do. And I get over there, there's a referee, and there's a yellow flag down there beside of it. And I said, what's that for? He said, it's on you. I said, for what? He said, delay a game. I said, I couldn't get through that crowd. He said, you're the home coach. It's your responsibility. So we're kicking off, -5. And they got 2 boys back there. And we didn't get to see any kickoff returns in the films we got from Page. So we got 2 kids back there, and I said, all right, we're going to kick it to that one. And he goes 85 yards for a touchdown. So that's the way we went to the half and came out of the half. And from that point on, it was all them.
That's exactly what we were talking about, how quick a game can turn.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes,
going
sir.
to I remember when your Richland South was 20-0 back during the street. One of Coach Padgett's last year, 20-0 right before the half. They try a long pass. It's a pick 6 right before the half. And it's just like, all of a sudden you can see the doubt coming in. Here we go to come back starting. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't realize this. And well, actually, let's talk about it after the break. I want to make a couple of points that think some folks might not realize. So we'll be right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Rayner. I have Coach Chuck Martin with us today, Coach Ray Durham, and of course, Ashley Moses, our co-host. We're going to hit our racing report real quick. You heard the intro there. Thank you to Onslow County Motor Company for sponsoring this. Ben Beasley and the gang. Joey Logano won the last race at where was that? Last race and at Michigan, and Daniel Suarez second, Ryan Blaney third, Christopher Bell fourth, and Alex Bowman in fifth. So the point standings, they're in the playoffs now, but they're getting ready to go to a road course, which anybody that is a true NASCAR fan knows the road course is just, they have them, but you got to go in circles. You know, that's NASCAR. Ryan Blaney's leading the point standings right now. Christopher Bell second, Tyler Reddick third, William Byron fourth, and Joey Logano fifth. I don't know how I got to brush up on my point standings because he wins the race and he's fifth in the points. So I have to figure out what that is. We'll get that for next week and give a little more detailed report. But we got a lot to talk about here. I want to get back to you guys.
Yeah.
Do you want to go straight into our Wood Ducks report, which is sponsored by Downey's Heating and Air Conditioning, Jason Humphrey and the gang. The Wood Ducks, they're gone. That's it. Downey's Wood Ducks. Texas Rangers are the parent team. They moved them to Spartanburg, South Carolina, starting next year. The Wood Ducks finished the second half a very respectable 30-33 because at one point they were down probably 10, 12 games below 500. So they played really well towards the closing, did not make the playoffs. So that's it. They're having a big yard sale up there if you guys are interested in some Wood Ducks stuff. I don't know if you heard. Did you go to many Wood Ducks games, Coach? Or more when it was the Indians?
When I started cropping tobacco at Trunon, we would finish at 6 o'clock, and we would jump in and get the pump going and wash off and go to see the Kinston Eagles. I saw Willie McCovey,
Really?
17
In the
years
minors.
old. I saw Kirk Flood, 17 years
How
old.
about that?
I mean, Leon Wagner, just all sorts of great young
And the
athletes.
stands were full, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, the
And
stands.
you remember
were
going
full.
to the back markets there at Kinston too,
Oh,
all the time.
been there.
Oh, yeah. How about you, Coach? Were you a big minor league fan of the Indians or the Wood Ducks? Go to any game?
Well, when I was at Bluefield, we had the Bluefield Orioles.
That's right. And that's one of the names. That's one of the legendary minor league names. You're right.
Yeah, we had some great players come through Bluefield. that,
Did you play baseball in high school or college? You strictly
No,
football guy.
No. I coached high school baseball, but we did not have a baseball team at my high school, nor did I play in college.
Where was
No.
your first coaching job in football?
Bluefield High School,
Okay. How many years were we there?
5 years.
And like you said, y'all went right into state championship your first year, didn't
That's
you?
right.
That's,
you had
awesome.
crowds as much as what, 5,000-6,000 people?
Up to 14,000. We
For
were
high school
fortunate.
football?
Yes, we were fortunate enough to play the state championship at our home stadium, and I'll show you a picture here. And I know these fans can't see this picture,
Well, I'll put it right over to you.
but
While you're pulling that up, too,
anyway, we had 14,000 for the state championship.
Wow. It's a lot of
That's
folks.
like the Ohio schools back in the day,
Yeah.
Cillian and some of those. Yeah.
Canton, and,
Yeah.
and you know,
Absolutely.
any male child born in Canton in the hospital with football was put in his crib.
Yeah, a little rattle as a football. Yeah, right.
It's a religion to a lot of people, isn't it?
Well, Odessa, Texas,
Oh,
Midland, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
those people,
Plano East. And,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John
That-
Tyler. all
that
the
is
schools.
serious football.
And, you know, it really starts in South Carolina, to be honest with you. I mean, these people, coaches making six figures, and
Yeah.
they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
quite. South Carolina don't quite have the pedigree that Texas and
No,
Florida have.
Georgia.
And I don't know if you saw this, but Georgia's
That's one
state
side of
championship
the
team from
stadium.
last year played Texas's state championship team. Texas team won 55-0.
Turffield.
That's how different it is between those two. Now, you were talking about the game you guys had where it started pouring rain. You remember, of course, the movie. I'm sure you've seen it, All the Right Moves.
No.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
Okay, because that was the coal mining area up there. I think it was actually Pennsylvania, but it reminds me so much of what you're talking about.
Big
About
bad
that
Tom
area.
Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
He's seen it.
Oh, wow.
This is the stadium. That's just one side there.
Oh.
But, very, very nice.
And I've been to state championships in North Carolina many times. I've been to state championship soccer games, and it might be 500 or 600 people, but a state championship football game is 5,000 or 6,000 usually.
Right.
So it's what is
We
the
were
king
fortunate enough to
down
go
south.
to the Clinton Reedsville game last year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at
Where
this
the
time,
crowd-
there were only 2 4A teams in West Virginia. I mean,
Really?
they go
Oh,
into
God.
for the finals, as Coach well remembers,
Yeah.
there might be a playoff. We had one playoff game, and then we had the state championship at that time.
So one
Not
game.
like now. Yeah.
And you mentioned what you mentioned before, about you hosting the state championship game. A lot of people don't realize it wasn't always a neutral site. You were lucky enough to host two of them, 1980, and then, you know, in between year, you went deep also, but then were able to host it back in 82 to win the state championship.
Well, and I think that is one of the mistakes
Going to neutral sites.
that the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has done. I mean, there are people that saw those ball games that'll never forget them here.
Oh yeah.
In the first place, when you got to travel to Chapel Hill or somewhere else, neither side gets to bring everybody.
That's right.
And
That's
I
right.
mean, was it overcrowded? Absolutely, it was overcrowded. But that was
Part of it,
important.
the atmosphere.
That was
Daggone
important
right, yeah.
to Jacksonville.
And the people, if you still were hosting a state championship game, let's say Jacksonville was still hosting it, the fans and the supporters of the team that would be coming will still come. If they're
Yeah.
going to go to a neutral site,
Yeah.
they would come here.
And back in the 1A days back then, Swain County was big. So you had teams from the east traveling slam to the, you know, furthest part of the mountains. out
Look
there.
what he would
Bryson
do.
City.
Look what he would do for the booster club.
Oh, I know. It was great.
Yeah.
We're going to take our last break. And when we come back, we're going to finish up with these two great coaches. We'll be right back on Sports Talk. Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Chris Rander, co-host Ashley Mosley. Once again with us, thank you today. We have two great coaches with us. We have Chuck Martin and Ray Durham with us. Legendary North Carolina coaches. They don't want to say it, but I'll
No
say
question
it.
about
No
it.
question
Jacksonville
about
High School football.
So
Coach.
we're going to roll through this day in sports so we can have more time to talk about some more football stories coming up. All this stuff happened on September 13th at some time or another. Let's see. In 1866, British Opens men's golf at Prestwick Golf Club. Willie Park Sr. wins his third title, beats his brother Dave Park by 2 strokes. How about that? That's
I was
a little
not
golfing,
there.
James.
Hey, Chris, I
Despite-
played Presswick.
In 1866?
No,
No,
Okay.
a couple
last
years
year.
ago. That's right.
Now, I
Got a
saw
bunker. Got to be one of them
I
big
saw
old bunkers.
your
Yeah.
picture on Facebook
Yeah.
of the swoop and burn there.
Yeah,
that's
that's
awesome.
right.
But
All right, Coach Durham, you got number 2 there.
Number 2, 1909, Ty Cobb, the Georgia Peach, clinches American League home run title with his 9th home run. 9.
And it says
All inside
yeah.
the park.
he must could
Wow.
fly
Well,
inside the park. He was fast, wasn't he?
he was fast, and these cleats were
Sure.
piled down. And
Whatever it took, right?
yep.
How about that? Okay, number 3, Babe Ruth, his home run, number 52, en route to Major League Baseball record 60.
There's
Home
some
run.
records I wish still stood in those home run records of his. And
That stood a long time, though.
who was it had the 61? Was it Maris?
Hank, yeah, Roger Maris.
Yeah, and then of
Roger.
course Hank
Sammy
Aaron
Sosa.
had the all-time record.
Right.
I wish that one still stood too, but unfortunately it doesn't.
Well, the thing about it is, Babe Ruth is the greatest hitter ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we say somebody else was better than Babe Ruth. He hit more home runs one year than the rest of the league.
He
And
did.
and was pitching at the same time.
Coach,
Yeah.
did you know Babe played football? in high school.
He looks like he'd be
I
good
saw a
football
picture of
player.
him punting the ball. And
Yeah.
the flexibility of his leg is just unbelievable how high it was
Yeah.
on
He's
that
a big
particular
dude.
kick. 1934, Major League Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis sells the World Series broadcast rights to Ford for $100,000.
I wish I could have
Oh,
got in and
no.
bought that at that time. That'd have been a steal nowadays.
Would you
And
like to have
You
some of
couldn't
that?
buy it for $100 million, probably not.
No. How about that name though? Kennesaw Mountain Landis. Who named that youngin? All right, in 1936, 17-year-old Cleveland Indians future Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Feller strikes out a then record 17 Philadelphia A's with a 5-2 win at League Park in Cleveland. 17 years old.
17.
Wow.
All right, Coach Durham.
Number
six.
1938, Alexander Cartwright is inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He is the inventor of modern baseball.
So he kind of took it up a step from old Abner there, Mr. Doubleday.
You want me to try this number 7? You want me
Give
to
it
skip
a whirl. Give
All
it a
right.
whirl. You got it.
This is a narrative.
You got it.
All right, in 1953, Italian Ferrari driver Alberto Ascari retains Formula One World Drivers' Championship, although he was forced to retire because of engine trouble in a season-ending Italian Grand Prix at Monza. He won the title by 6.5 points from Juan Manuel. I got to be careful. Fangio.
We'll go with that. Good job. Good job. Superstar.
He must have been related to Nick Fangio. Y'all know who Nick
I've heard the
Fangio
name,
is?
yeah.
He's a defensive coordinator. Of course, he's his head coach at Denver, but he's a current defensive coordinator for the Eagles.
Right.
How about that?
And Fangio's not a real common name,
And
so.
he took my place at North Carolina, by the way, when I
Hey,
left.
really?
Yes, he
Well,
did.
we had Earl Shive's brother here last week.
I think it was a different shot. All right, Coach Mark, number 8. there.
I'll paint you a car for $29.
1965, Willie Mays' 500th homer off Don Notabark. Giants' 11th straight win.
All right, in 1969, San Francisco Giant Bobby Bonds is baseball's fourth 30 home run, 30 steal player. Been done a lot since, but back then
yes.
it
A lot
was
of people.
quite an accomplishment.
All right, Coach.
Number 10, 1973, the U.S. Congress in all its glory passes and sends a bill to President Nixon to lift NFL football television blackout on sold-out games.
And a lot of kids now don't even know what that was, but back in the day, if a game weren't sold out, you didn't
You had
watch
to go.
it. You didn't watch
the
it.
game.
Yeah, that's how
right.
they got people in the stand.
I like what he said, though, in all their glory, 1973, U.S. Congress in all their glory. Little jab there, Coach. That's all right. All right. 1981 U.S. Open men's tennis. John McEnroe wins his third straight U.S. Open title, beating Bjorn Borg 4-6, 6-2, 6-4, 6-3, and Borg's last Grand Slam match, who, by the way, retired when he was 26 years old.
Wow. And not
Who,
only
by the way, was best of his generation.
Bjorn Borg. And not only did McEnroe beat Borg, he cussed him out afterwards too.
And anybody standing around.
He probably did, but you can imagine it because he had a potty mouth now.
And Jimmy Connors is in there too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. How about Elin Nastasi?
Yeah.
That crazy check, whatever it was.
All right, Coach.
1997, Carolina Hurricanes' first exhibition game beat the New York Islanders 4-1.
You guys ever been to a hockey game before?
I have, and I don't understand much of it. I was shocked at how big the players were
Oh yeah.
and how fast they are going.
And they hit like trucks.
Yeah.
They do that.
I mean, it's like linebackers on every play.
Well, speaking of
We don't have no
linebackers,
teeth, dude.
no, some of them don't. Some of them don't. And Lane and Associates Family Dentistry is the official dentist of the NHL, of the Carolina Hurricanes,
You're exactly
actually.
right.
And a lot of them, they figure, why should I get my teeth fixed? It might happen again. They wait till they
Where do they
retire.
get them fixed? So I don't know. I don't have to.
They'll
make
get
money.
something put in
Get
later
one
on
knocked
down the
out and leave that way. You know?
Well, we were talking about the transition from you guys, and let me make sure I tell this right. Where was Coach going to play his game? Wilson.
Yes, Coach was at Hoggart High School, and he had an important game at in Wilson, North Carolina. And Coach, why don't you share that great story?
Well, the first year that I went to Hoggard, they had football for 1 year and had played a JV type schedule. We had 19 guys go out. We had no practice field. We had no field house. We had nothing. And our second game was with Wilson Pike and Carl Lester.
Carl Lester Crumper.
That's a double.
And we go up there and it's 41-0 at the half. And it really wasn't that close. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to say at halftime here? So I finally went in there and I told the boys, I said, fellas, I said, I saw the referees and I told them we were just going on home. Because I knew there'd be a couple of them that would say, no, coach, we're going to get them. We're going to get them. They started taking their gear off. Now I've got to talk them back into putting on their gear and going back out.
That's a great one.
Joke, son, joke.
My all-time favorite. and your trip going to the NFL tryouts.
Yeah, tell us about that one.
Oh, that's.
Were you going to try out yourself?
That was a Canadian tryouts,
It was
wasn't
a Canadian.
it? Excuse me. Yeah.
And unknown to me, every senior in college got a postcard. Do you remember what we called a penny postcard?
Right.
We got a postcard about a tryout for the Blue Bombers.
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg,
Right.
yeah. So about 5 of us, we decided we'd go try out.
You're like, I'm the elite.
Now, we pull out of the parking lot in Greensboro, and all we know is Winnipeg is north.
A long
way
way.
north.
And we have no idea. You know, this is like Thursday. We're skipping classes on Friday. Which is Thursday. We're going to try out for a professional football team. Well, about 3 hours, and we get to a sign that says Virginia Beach, 21 miles. So we look at each other, and we says, well, we probably won't make it, boys, but none of us have been to Virginia Beach either. Let's go there. So that was the end of my pro career.
That's two great stories.
They're great.
At least you can go the other direction, up in Kentucky somewhere where there weren't no beach. You know? All right, we're talking about you guys, how your careers kind of, you were there first and Coach Martin took over after you. Then Coach, you were right there before. I just want to get a little intake on this, a little of your input on this. The Notre Dame box came to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The offense that nobody runs anymore, and there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
It came right after you. So
after I left. Yes.
Travis Connor was the coach.
Right.
How many years did he last trying to run that offense at Jacksonville? Just a couple, wasn't it?
I
Wasn't
think-
long.
I think
Explain
so.
it to me. I don't understand.
It's direct
my
snap.
knowledge-
There's You guys explain. You can explain a
Well,
little better.
When I started playing football, it was the very last emblems of the single wing.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
That's-
We may have
that's where
had
it
one
came from.
team in our league still playing, and Gerald was
Yeah, we
still
went the same
playing.
way.
Now Gerald would split some people,
Yeah.
but
Dixon's running it now.
yeah, and look, there are a lot of things that they're doing now that look like the single wing.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, your quarterbacks line up there at 6 yards deep, and there's a running back up there, which
Right.
would be the old single wing fullback.
Right.
And I mean, everything cycles around. When I was playing in high school, the quarterback's job was to hand the ball to the running back.
Okay.
Now, if you don't have a quarterback that can do 2 or 3 things, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But the Notre Dame box was unbalanced line usually. Say you're unbalanced right and you have a tight end right.
Okay.
And you have a tailback, a fullback, and what they call a blocking back.
Mhm.
And he's like a pulling guard.
Okay. But he was lined up in the
But he was
backfield.
lined up in the backfield, like behind the inside tackle
Just like a single
area,
wing.
somewhere like that. Yeah. And you had a tight wing back.
Okay.
Usually you were single wing right.
Okay.
I mean, you could go left, but usually you were single wing right because the tailback could throw better moving to his right
Right.
because they were right-handed.
Yeah.
You know, there were a few left-handed tailbacks. And, it was a great offense. And then the T came in. And to start with, the T was a quarterback under center and 3 backs.
Right.
And then some people started taking one of those backs and putting him at the wing, at a tight wing. Wing T. And then somebody started the I formation and started splitting it in and putting the back out wide. So you'd have 2 wide outs. So it's all come to now you may have 4 wide outs and two backs in the backfield.
Well, the game was forced to evolve because if you kept running the same thing over and over, defenses would catch on to it and they could stop them a lot of cases.
Not if you ran them really well, though.
Well, if you executed and you had the athletes to do it, it's just like power football. Coach Sanders talked about that last week.
Yeah.
If you got the athletes and that can do it, it works.
Well, and see, a lot of times with the simple offense that we had, we would take our best 8 players. I'd take the tailback and the quarterback, and I'd say the defensive people, you got the next 8 picks, because we were in a league that didn't throw very much. So you wanted your defensive backs to be able to tackle and play a little bit of pass defense.
Right.
You know, so they got the next 8 picks for defense.
Okay.
And then I'd take the rest of them and we'd get the offensive line. And we would play but guys both ways, like a wide receiver and defensive back. No reason they can't play both ways if they're in shape.
That's exactly right.
You know, no reason. So we'd always look for 22, and sometimes we'd find 18 or 19, you know. And on third and short, Eddie Colson's in the game at linebacker. And third and long, maybe Greg Cooper's in the game at safety.
Safety, right.
So, you know, you make out what you got.
Right.
The important thing, though, is for them to know the plan. Whatever the plan is, to know the plan.
To be prepared.
To know who to block. To know what hole they're responsible for on defense. And, you know.
Yeah.
And all that's going to do that is constant training. You know, I knew enough plays to go in there on Monday and put in 30 or 40 plays if I wanted to. But that wasn't going to work.
Keep it simple and do good at what you do.
Yes.
Now,
Keep
did you
it
guys-
simple, stupid.
You guys ever run the wishbone or the option or anything?
Oh, yeah. I would practice the option in preseason. We'd put the option play and we'd run out there and we'd pitch it behind him. And I'd say, that's it.
Were you the first to invent the slogan that Phil Paget always liked to say? On a pass play, there's 3 things that can happen.
But 2 of them are
And
bad.
2 of them are bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
One year we ran the opening kickoff back all the way and got a fumble and scored, and we had 2 on the board in the first 5 minutes, and they take a timeout, and Greg Cooper walks over there, the quarterback, and he says, "Won't be much passing in this one, will it, Coach?" I said, "Doesn't look like it, Greg."
not tonight, sir.
What's your take, coaching, on the offenses that a lot of teams are running today, like the spread, that sort of thing? What's your take on that?
They all look alike to me. And I can't draw up a defense against them that I'm happy with without 12 guys on the field.
So it's the good offenses.
Well, if you like that.
Right.
I mean, reading them and fooling them and this and that and the other, you know, that wasn't in my head, you know.
No,
We're
it's
going
like
to
you
line
drive
up,
power,
down
and
there.
I'm going to run at you, and I'm going to run at you enough to where you're going to start backing up a little bit, you know.
And you
And,
can let them know you're going to keep on doing it till you stop.
and I'm going to keep the ball about 80% of the game.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
the,
Like
the
Chris said
best
last week.
offense can't
On that
score on that
sideline.
sideline. Now, the year you guys went to state championship first in 80, Eddie Colson was with the team then, right?
Yes.
Now, he was not actually on the 82 championship team, right? Had he already graduated, or was he on that team?
Eddie?
Yeah.
No, he was at Carolina then.
And so he had already graduated. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of retooled and make you run back in 82. Now, what offense were you running then? Were mostly I back then?
Same offense.
Same offense.
I went back after I'd retired for a year, about 7 or 8 years. Same offense. And
94, I think.
it was like-
no, 24.
what is this they're lining up in? I formation, you know. I mean, the defensive guys, they've never seen anything
Yeah.
like that. I mean,
Well, I guess it would be easier to find a personnel to adapt to the offense or defense than you got than to get the offense or defense to adapt to the personnel that you got.
well, yeah, I mean, some years with those 6 plays, like with Eddie Colson, we didn't run much sweep.
You just went right
On
at it.
tackle.
Yeah, now the guy that followed him was about 165 pounds. We ran a lot of sweep. You know, Eddie Colson, we ran the isolation play and the quick trap and the off tackle. You know, you You got 6 plays. You hope you can run 4 of them.
Well, offensive defensive line is what wins football games, and Coach Martin told me that last week, and it's the truth. Did you run the same kind of offense that Coach Durham ran?
Especially that state championship year that you guys went in '94. What were y'all running then? Was
Well,
it
we were
more
predominantly I there, with Chris. We gave the ball to Chris up the middle around the end, toss sweep. And we did. We had Sean Wilson, and I loved
Sean Wilson? I was trying to remember that name.
I like to run a lot of formations. I like to run shifts. I like to run motions, and I love throwing the ball. It's just tough in high school to find that quarterback that can consistently win for you, and the receivers that have the talent to catch the ball to win the games. But high school football is changing so much, especially offensively. And like Coach says, the defenses have to catch up. And there's coaches on defense are scratching their heads. Hey, I need another play out there, 12 or 13 of them to stop it.
You got an extra runner now. The quarterback.
That's right. You sure do.
He may lead.
That's right.
Well, State's quarterback led their team in rushing last year.
Yeah, and that's happening a lot more nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, and they can scoop. You take your best athlete and you put him at quarterback, if he can throw.
Do you think they will have to extend the length of the football field from 100 yards a little bit? And the reason I asked that question, you got field goal kickers now that kick 65 and 70-yard field goals.
Well, 30 or 40 years ago, they were talking about extending the lines in basketball and raising the goal. Well, they didn't do it, but it's still a pretty good game.
It is. And you talk about
raising the goal. I mean,
The players are a little bigger also, Coach.
Wilt Chamberlain changed basketball.
Yeah.
Now, you don't hear much about
outlawed
him,
the dunk shot with
and
him,
the kids won't even know who he is.
That's right.
But if I was getting up a team and I had the first pick, I'd pick Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. If we live long enough, and none of us will, point guards will be 7 feet tall.
I would take Russell from the Celtics myself.
Imagine those two as your twin towers. That'd be a nasty combo right there.
Well, now my all-time all-conference team seniors are Wilt and Bill and Oscar and Jerry
West
and Elgin.
Elgin Baylor.
We didn't see much of Elgin Baylor because he was on the coast for a long time, and he did end up in L.A. his last few years. But I think they're every bit as good as Larry and Michael and Magic and that crowd. Remember, they're a different generation, and
I agree with you.
and generations
Right.
grow an inch or so height-wise. Like we had one boy on my high school football team that weighed 200 pounds.
He was big back then.
He was big, he was fat, he was slow, he wasn't any good.
But he was 200 pounds.
But he was 200 pounds. Put him in the middle of the line, coach.
Well, and Ashley, you talked about like field goal kicking, the way the game's evolved. Up until just a few years ago, you had a guy that held the record that did the old toe blow with no toes.
Tom Dempsey.
He had a square toe because half his foot was gone.
Had
63
half foot.
63 and half an arm. For
Yeah.
63 yards held it for a long time.
Well, the reason I mentioned that was because I was watching a game, I think it was the Cowboys
It
the
was.
other day. They were contemplating the boy kicking a 71-yard field goal or attempting
They were
to
attempting, yeah.
Really?
They were lining up and jumped off sides.
Right.
Or something,
He kicked
so
it and broke the record, but it was a penalty.
Yeah, something.
Oh, it
happened.
went through?
Wow.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
missed that one. Wow.
shit.
And it's so much tougher to do snap, hold, and kick than it is, of course, about the rule about the free kick, which is kind of an obscure rule. After a fair catch, you can line it up on a tee.
Did that one night.
Did you?
Playing
What was
Southview and Heights. And,
what was the length of that field? Tell us the story of that so people understand what it is.
Well, we had a rain delay, so they cleared the teams off the field. They were punting from like the 1, 2, or 3, something like that. Well, at halftime, I said, all right, we're going to fair catch the punt because it was 4th down when they cleared the field. So we go out there and we fair catch it. Now, if we kick it off through the goal line, through the goalposts, that's 3
3
points.
points.
And not many people knew that. As a matter of fact, the 4 zebras at the game did not know about
You
that.
had to remind him of the rule, didn't you?
He pulls the rule book out and looks it up, and there it is right there. I said, first time you read that? And he said, no, I knew about,
I just forgot about it.
Yeah, and we kicked a field goal to start after the rain delay.
And what it looks like is you line up like a kickoff.
Yeah, like
They're
a
10
kickoff.
yards away. It's on a tee. It's
Yeah.
not snapping hope. Nobody
Right.
rushes you. He just kicks it.
Yeah.
Goes
That's
through it.
stealing
3
3
points.
points.
It's a crazy rule, but there was several NFL teams that tried it in the last couple of seasons and just couldn't get the
Yeah.
the right swing on it. And one of them was like about a 70-yard field goal.
Yeah.
But he missed it wide left. Crazy rule.
But you need to talk to the officials early, because when we lined up out there, they were
Yeah.
shaking their heads and pointing, and I said, no, because you have to fair catch it,
Right?
and then you take it right there, you line up, and you field goal kickoff man, he kicks it through the goalpost.
If it goes through, it's 3 points. If not, and it's short, they can return it like
Yeah.
a regular kickoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wild rule, but it's still there. You remember any particular wild stuff like that? It was kind of
Well,
outside the box?
we did that at Jacksonville when I was
Did you?
there. I don't recall who it was against. I think Southern Wayne, but we did that one night and had the field goal.
Had
Yes.
the free
Yeah,
kick.
well, when I was at Hoggard, late at Hoggard, we were in the league with 8 Fayetteville schools in Sanford Central, who had a great program with Paul Gay as their
Yeah.
coach.
Were you a Hogger in 1968?
Sounds like it.
So I'm pretty sure.
What do you remember?
I was in the radio business down there with my dad for a while. Whistle Radio.
That might have been my last year.
WHSL.
Yeah.
Sound on the radio station, Little Rifle Beach.
But it was, you can take 3 different types of jobs. You can build a program like I had to do at Hoggard. You can rebuild a program like I try to do at Rocky Mount. And then you can continue a good program like I did at Jacksonville. And the Chuck did. And now Kip's boys doing a real good job there.
He is.
So, I mean, those are the 3 situations in
Wow.
a coach you can step into.
I got
And I've been to all of them. And I did building from scratch at a 4A program was the toughest thing I've ever had to do, because it was right at forced integration. Nobody wanted to be there. New Hanover had been a high school with 4,000 people, 3 grades, the biggest high school in the South.
Right.
They had 6 feeder schools in New Hanover. Now, can you imagine being a basketball coach and you go out there for your first day of practice and you got 30 guys that started last year on the 9th grade
That'd be a
team?
good situation.
30
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
to
coming
pick
from
12
different-
from.
It's like bringing an all-star team
Right.
together.
Yeah. And Coach Brogdon, who was a legendary coach down there, and
Oh,
he
that
was a
name's well
real
known, yeah.
legendary coach. And I mean, he coached football, basketball, and baseball just like all the old guys did. When I played, you had a football coach and a basketball coach, and the basketball coach was the assistant football coach. And then one of them coached baseball. And that was all sports they were. But that was 3, and that filled up my year with better crop in tobacco.
There you go.
Well, coaches, man, it's been great having you guys in here talking about this stuff. Can you make me one promise, though, that you'll come back and do this again, maybe towards the end of the season, get y'all back together? Because I think we just scratched the surface,
Yeah.
don't you
Yeah,
think
because
so?
we hadn't had a chance to expound. That's an SAT word.
Expound.
Expound on the high school football. What's
Expound's
going on
what you do
school.
when you run in the middle of the line.
Well,
You
Well, you
expound a
hadn't
lot.
you hadn't had any Carlos stores. You hadn't had
Well,
any.
tell us one before we go.
And then Danny Talbot stories.
Yeah.
Now,
I could
Danny was
do a-
older than I was. He was before my time
Right.
before high school. But I remember when he come to play Goldsboro High School, we got off the buses, walked to the field house and everything, and them fans from Goldsboro, they gave him a hard time. Go to where Talbot. Go to where Talbot. But like you say, man, he's probably one of the. When I was looking at him play, he was an outstanding quarterback. No question about that.
Where did he
Well-
play college football?
Carolina.
And you're talking about Carl Lester. He's the one that played at East Carolina. And then his brother Algie played at Carolina, right?
That was his son.
Son.
That was his son.
Yeah.
Let's say you're talking about the older one. Okay. Because there was a younger Carl Lester
Well,
couple,
you
too.
know, he was. I
There
played,
is one. The Carl Lester.
The Carl Lester couple.
I played, Wilson had two junior high schools. They had Wilson Red and Wilson Blue. And I think he played at Wilson Blue. But
Okay.
I played against him 6
And I've actually met that man because he came to a Jacksonville game. Remember last year, a couple of years ago when we were covering the games, his grandson was playing for D.H. Conley.
Yeah, he
So-
he
or
went
South
to
Central,
Rutgers.
one or
He
the
got a
other.
scholarship to Rutgers, his
Yeah.
grandson did. But let me
Okay.
tell you, no, it's his son. His youngest son went to Rutgers.
Okay.
One of them played at New Hanover. One of them played, I think maybe the one that played at New Hanover might have
Right.
transferred to Greenville or was both of them.
Right.
Well, Coach, you said
He played at
let's run back.
Carolina. The grandson.
Yeah.
Son.
In junior high school, he was 6'2" or 6'3".
First junior high school kid I ever saw dunk a basketball.
Yeah,
too.
but I mean, he was a big dude. He matured physically quicker than a whole lot of us other guys did. But
Well,
yeah,
as a
he-
sophomore, he scored 4 touchdowns in the state championship game.
yeah, well, like I said, my senior year, we were up 21-0 at halftime. He run the opening kickoff back for the second half. We ended up losing 27-21. So,
Did he play in the NFL?
yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys-
Sure,
I know
played
it was-
Redskins for
Yeah.
a while. I
Was it
think.
the Falcons, too, maybe?
I know he was.
He is a great player at East Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they used him, and I don't mean this wrong, but they used him right. They ran him a lot.
Like you did with Colson.
Yeah.
And I did with Williams.
Colson got his share of carries at Carolina, too.
And
Well-
Jackson was fortunate enough to have a good running back now. You know, he's getting a lot of ink. He's going to Carolina. Of course, we're talking about the Monsoon, Juju.
Yeah.
He's probably probably top 5 running backs in the state. You agree, Coach?
Well, you know, you don't know what's out there until
You get out there.
you get out there and start looking around, you know. But like this one is really good. He reminds me a lot of Eddie. They're built the same way.
He doesn't shy away from contact. either,
No,
does he?
No, he
and
likes
they're
it.
wide. And I noticed that Coach Williams in tough defensive situations, he's also a linebacker.
Linebacker,
And I love the way you referred to when you were, because you coached, you know, Chip and everything. Chip was younger, a little younger and everything, but you talk about Chip's boy. Like when you talk about Bo, you know, we all know him as
Yeah.
Coach Bo Williams, you know, and of course you guys are from the generation ahead of us, so that's Chip's boy.
I don't think there's a better defensive football coach in high school in North Carolina than Bo Williams.
He's tough.
He is one heck of a defensive football coach.
And his dad did win a state title up at New Bern, wasn't it?
Yes.
Or I know it was at New Bern.
No.
I don't know.
No, Rockingham, Richmond
No.
County.
Was it
You're
Richmond?
close. Scotland.
Greenville.
Scotland
Scotland.
County.
Okay.
Scotland.
That's right. That's right.
See, we got a lot to talk about, guys. We got to.
We're gonna do another show. Will y'all promise you'll come back for another one?
If he'll come.
If Chuck's on time to pick me
Oh,
up.
if we have some more VLTs, will you come back?
And look,
Yeah.
these guys, they came in hungry. They were in a good mood. I can tell that. I think Coach Martin may be ready for a nap because they've already played 18 holes of golf.
Yeah.
Oh, Holly, before we go, talk about the game tonight.
Real quick, it's Chris behind the scenes here.
Behind the scenes, Chris.
So real quickly, this show was so fantastic, and the stories that Coach Durham tells, you guys tell, are amazing. This will be one of those shows that we can cut up and play in the reruns. You know,
You mean if I ever have to go to the beach for the weekend or
that's right.
something?
If you have to go to the beach or go to town, this will be the reruns, man.
Yeah.
No, so tonight's a big night for the Cardinals. We can head out of town, head to Morehead City, take on West Carteret. You guys coming out? Are you traveling to coaches? Are you going to go to West Carteret tonight?
Well, they say it's going to rain.
Yeah,
I
there's-
went to Whitehoo in the rain.
Oh, my
I
I
know.
God.
want to go to another one.
Well, there's a slight chance. We're hoping that doesn't happen.
Hopefully
But
it'll
anyway,
resolve.
tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock is kickoff. Should be a lot of fun. You can check it out, of course, at 97.1, 11:20 a.m. And wherever you may be, we stream it worldwide at WSME971.com. And so we hope you'll check it out if you can't be there.
And he's the quarterback at WSME, as you guys can tell.
He's head coach.
Give him 6.
Give him
Well, before we go, I want to thank our sponsors again: National Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the loss of John Drew Warlick, CNS Paint, Onslow County Motor Company, Fountain Management, Wismart, Chappie's Chicken and Great Gas and Oil, Bartley Insurance Services, Humphrey Heating and Air Conditioning, Rock Creek Golf and Country Club, Golden Corral, Lane Associates Family Dentistry, Jones Onzo EMC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, Southern Touch Painting, Barnes Diamond Gallery, and Bayshore Animal Hospital. Thanks to Helen's Kitchen and Billy Grissett for them Dynamite BLTs. There are a couple left, right?
They were good.
Is there one left? I hope? Okay. Wood Ducks Report, last one, sponsored by Down East Heating and Air Conditioning, and Racing Report, sponsored by Onslow County Motor Company. That's it. A wrap for today. We do want to get you guys back. One other thing to add?
Yo, go ahead.
1, 2.
Oh, I thought you were going to add it.
No.
Oh.
I was just waving.
Okay. What you want to add
Wave
there?
to YouTube, everybody.
Wave to the YouTube world.
1, 2, 3. Go Cards.
Go Cards.
Go Cards.